Hey, I'm Connor,
Hey, I'm Rutledge.
and we're Friends Stream Sports, and boy, am I happy to be back.
Welcome back, Connor. We know you were out, but now you're back. Of course, last week Anna Marie and I talked about uh, all things sports music, including I want your on the air, non prepared take on this. Which is a better song to hear at a baseball game? Sweet Caroline or Take Me Out to the Ball Game? If you could hear only one at a baseball game, which one would you choose?
If I could hear only one at a baseball game, I would love to be able to hear um, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Sweet Caroline, although good solid song, Take Me Out to the Ball Game is just, um, it's iconic. You think about all the teams that do that. Doesn't matter if you're in Oakland or really outside of the city of Boston. That song is getting played and it's getting played well. So that is what I'm going with.
That was the same one that I picked, and I had the argument with Anna Marie. I'm like, what do you think Yankees fans would pick? They're not going to pick Sweet Caroline.
No doubt, no doubt.
They're
So
going to definitely pick Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
did you see Rutledge actually recently? Speaking of baseball, they had a Savannah Bees player introduce himself before his at bat.
Yeah, the Savannah Bananas, which actually play my local town, Augusta Green Jackets, are a very well supported uh, minor league team in the Georgia area. Himself.
No doubt. That's a ton of fun, man. Ton of fun, and what's also a ton of fun is, um, you know, we're feeling pretty gold right here in the United States. I don't know about you, but the U.S. men's national team has done quite well for themselves over these past two tournaments that they've been involved in.
It's amazing to see them put two things in the trophy case for the men's national team. I am so proud of the team that we have. Of course, there's lots to see with the performance. We know that this past tournament, the the starters that play in European leagues did not perform. So it was good to see the team, like you said last time you were on, Connor, kind of see who's going to step up and go out there and who's going to really sort of make an impact. So feels good to watch them hoist back-to-back trophy cups. The World Cup qualifiers, we're getting started with that soon, aren't we?
That we are, and definitely a ton of great momentum. This Gold Cup, there were some games that I think Greg Berhalter in a lot of ways tried to do the high wire act. It was really interesting because the Nations League final against Mexico, he had his definite um, he definitely had his A team out there for sure, but then when it came ready for the um, Gold Cup as opposed to Nations League, you know, his A team guys, his Weston McKinney's, his Christian Pulisic's, his Josh Sargent's, all those guys, they were getting ready for the European seasons, as you said. So there was a lot of lineups that were most definitely the B team lineups, but they for sure came ready to play. So, it was. I think Greg Berhalter, just at least for the character of this team, got a lot of questions answered. Now, I think that unfortunately there still are the same question marks coming out of the Gold Cup as there were going into the Gold Cup, but just a ton of great momentum for sure. So, Rutledge, in your opinion, does beating Mexico in these past two finals does this mean that the men's national team are now leaders in CONCACAF in the confederation that um, United States plays in?
Definitely going to say on paper, absolutely yes. And for those out there that may think, well, is Mexico a big deal of a victory? We have to remember that Mexico during the last World Cup was no slouch of a team, and they held some players and some teams pretty close. So I think this is great momentum for the USA team to lead. I really think, though, and like you bring it up, we have the same question marks. I'm still worried about it was that right back defender position we've been talking about all this time, right, Connor?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the thing that, yes, we can do in CONCACAF. And CONCACAF is not a bad division of soccer, but I liken us to kind of like, for a lot of our viewers out there are big college football fans. CONCACAF in the soccer world, it's definitely not your SEC, or it's not your Big Ten. Sure, we won our conference, and this is a great win, but it's without that right back position locked up. I'm a little nervous about when I think we will be in the World Cup for sure, but I'm worried about what that team looks like facing off against some big other World Cup profiles. Names that come to mind, of course, are the ones in South America, like Argentina and Brazil. Even if we get Coast of Ivories in our group. So there's still some work to be done, even though the rockets of red glare and the stars are bursting in the air for the men's national team.
Did you say Coast of Ivories?
Yes. Was that?
Did you hear that?
Was that a ding?
That was your first miss. It's Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast. They could be the Coast of Ivories.
I may or may not have bought a bell. As opposed to saying ding, I have a bell right next to my controller, so when we're ready to play and get after it, don't worry, it's now official, the official FriendStream Sports bell.
I don't think it came through on mine. I'm going to say it again. Coast of Ivories. You dirty dog.
There it is. So speaking of Rutledge, speaking of big, big teams and things like that, have you seen the latest FIFA World Rankings?
I have, of course, but I know our viewers have not. Give it to the people, Connor.
All right. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to share some of the top 10 FIFA World Rankings updated for August of 2021. And I'll go through, I'll read the top 10, and then, what I'll do real quick is just kind of share some of my takes on these. So, number one team in the world right now, according to FIFA, is Belgium. We have number 2, Brazil. Number 3, France. Number 4, England. Number 5, Italy. Number 6, Argentina. Number 7, Spain. Number 8, Portugal. Number 9, USA. And number 10, Mexico. So in this,
What about Coast of Ivories?
Coast of Ivories did not crack the top 10, even though they are a good team in the African division. I think that these FIFA World Rankings, as you could tell, gave a ton of nods to CONMEBOL and really the UEFA leagues, the European Football Association, with a little bit to CONCACAF, which actually there's just as many CONCACAF teams as there are CONMEBOL teams. So I don't know what that tells you, besides the fact that CONMEBOL is just pretty top-heavy. But tons and tons of European teams, but that kind of makes sense. The Euro tournament definitely is a lot more difficult to win than a Gold Cup, even though it's no slouch. I think one of the things about playing soccer in in the Americas is that it seems to be a little bit more of a physical game, a little bit more of a chippy game. There's you've got guys with less to lose and are going to put it all out there on the field and throw some pretty hard fouls. So, so with that, my quick takes here on the top 10 FIFA World Cup World Rankings. I think that I am so surprised, and maybe I just pulled this off the internet and I got a bad FIFA ranking list, but I think that these rankings are pretty much absolutely garbage. The fact that you have...
Wow.
The fact that you have Italy at number 5, who just won the Euros and did it in pretty spectacular fashion. I know they had a lot of penalty shootouts. It's not like they won every game 5-0, but won. And not only did they win, but they had to win in Wembley. And for all of the tough and difficult times and things that the fans were giving you know, that they had, the Italy came and they won, as opposed to it's coming home, as our dear central defending friend Chiellini said, it's coming to Rome. So I think it's a crock that Italy is number 5, and England number 4. The fact that France only fell 1 spot to number 3, pretty underwhelming Euro performance. Brazil somehow ended up gaining a spot, going from number 3 to number 2, and Belgium retained their top spot. So, the biggest drop was Portugal going from number 5 to number 8, which kind of makes sense. I could have seen and would have liked to have seen a lot more drops like that. But Rutledge, I think in a lot of ways this tells us a few things. Number one is that in world soccer, you for sure have the haves and the have-nots, right? Outside of the USA, which jumped 11 spots, the largest margin of movement was 3 spots. So not a ton of shakeup throughout these world rankings. And, there's not really a dark horse team in here. All of these teams really, yet again, minus the United States, but the United States does have a lot of talented players, are teams that and just big brand names, right? To kind of liken it to college football, usually in the top 10, you've got kind of that one team that you don't really know about. You've got that Grayson McCall Coastal Carolina squad, right? You've got the Boise State teams, if you will, kind of from the mid 2000s, and it's a lot of big countries and a lot of teams that you know about. So. Would love to see more of a challenge. I think next year's World Cup, I think that you will see some of these larger teams that are brand names kind of take a step back. Here's my first hot take on the World Cup, is that you will see some big brand names really officially take a step back. This Belgian team that somehow is number 1 in the world, a lot of their big-time players are getting older and kind of ending their careers. Argentina, Messi cannot be around forever. So I think that next year might be his very, very last gasps. But who knows? It is Messi. He is pretty much an alien, so he might be able to stick around a little bit longer. Who knows how long the central defense of Italy can stick around? Donnarumma in goal is a young guy, and that's awesome. But having those 2 center backs right in front of Donnarumma definitely helped. Out of this list, I think Spain is probably most able to make a big jump ahead, as even though they do have some old players, they do have a few nice young players peppered in there. So yeah, it's an interesting world ranking list that I see here. Glad to see the U.S. in the top 10, but I sure hope that they do not listen and read their press clippings.
I certainly hope they listen and read our show, because at the end of the day, we're supporting them. Speaking of supporting, I want to give a huge shout out to a massive non-traditional, and I'm going to call it non-traditional win, but our Orlando City Lions overcame getting an early 1-0 goal lead by Joseph Martinez within the first minute, and being near Georgia. My phone exploded, and it was great to see Nani and company, including more out of Vanderwater, who I just love, see them come back and really start to make a difference. I'm excited to see that this Lions team is starting to battle. Of course, we still have some key people out, but it feels really good to see that we're not in our normal summer slump to where we sort of fell off and fell apart.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's for those who don't know, I was out of the country, so with a large time change, so I did not get to watch the game live. But when I woke up the next morning, it was awesome to see that it was a big time victory. Coming from behind, being able to answer off of that Joseph Martinez goal. For those who might not know, Orlando City has what they usually refer to as the summer swoon, where they just cannot get a man, got a sack there. Good night. Um, cannot get a win there during the summer, but they were able to pull one off. So definitely really excited for that. Rutledge, let me ask you this: have you? I think some of the biggest stats as it relates to Orlando City is actually some of their player personnel that it might be leaving the squad. Have you been following some of these personnel stories?
We definitely had a lot of motion going around. Of course, the one that hurts us is Chris Mueller, who has been such an impactful member of our team, will eventually leave the squad at the end of his contract. Besides that, once I saw that trade come through, I really turned off my trade notifications for a solid week because that wouldn't hurt me deep. Connor, who else are you watching go away?
Yeah, so we have Chris Mueller, which kind of the head scratching move going to Hibernian. Is interesting when they said, "Oh, Chris Mueller is going to be headed to a European team," and you're kind of thinking, "Oh, well, must be a team from kind of the quote Big Five leagues," and having so close.
Oh.
I went for it on fourth down, no good. Um, but that Hibernian move kind of is a little bit of a head scratcher. But he's got an agent and he's got folks that he's got to answer to. So, the other thing, there is some news. I guess Junior Urso is wanting to go back to Brazil. So potentially we might see a Junior Urso move. Apparently, Porto, the Portuguese side, has offered $9.5 million. There's a $9.5 million offer for Daryl Dike. So there is some definite potential players moving. So it'll be interesting to watch Orlando City how they respond, and maybe some news coming out as this season progresses.
Definitely happy to see where they're going and seeing in the right direction. Speaking of changes,